Joe Diomede, TTRP TV, coming at you from the back of the Grangette. Well, actually, not from the back of the Grangette. I'm in the Grangette, where we just saw this great band tonight, Skin and Wire. And I'll tell you what, it brought me back to the days of, fun, political music, dance music. Everyone was dancing, and this man here was singing in French and English. He was tearing up some traditional songs. And Luke, man, tell me, how did you get into this group, and how long have you been playing with these guys?
How did we get into the group? Well, we've been playing for about 10 years, and I'd been on the slam poetry scene in Toulouse, kind of by chance. I'd been playing with another band, which is more like slam poetry and music at the time, but I wanted a rock band, and I was playing banjo, got into folk music, a lot of American folk. But I wanted a rock and roll band, punk energy, but with folk sounds. So the idea was guitar, bass, drums, banjo, and fiddle. And so that made 5 people. I wanted at least 2 of them to be women. So I had to search around a bit. A friend told me when I was looking for a guitarist that I had to meet this guy, Bob Mallow, Mika, who was from the kind of Toulouse squat scene and played lots of political benefit gigs, etc. And I met him. We were the same age, both old rockers. A lot of references in common, from everything from Buddy Holly to Nick Cave, The Fall, and loads of stuff in between. So we got playing. Leo, the drummer, was already in the other band I was in. I knew I wanted to play with him. I wasn't expecting him to say yes. He did. He introduced us to Lucy, the bass player, and we got hold of Aurore Seguier, who was our first violinist, who happened to be there tonight. So she played with us tonight for the first time in 9 years, which is great.
Yeah, she was great. I mean, it was great when you told me before the concert that she was going to join you guys, and I'll tell you what, it was great. Yeah, it was great to see her play. I mean, I saw you a couple of years ago, so she wasn't in the band, but tonight it was like you guys hadn't you never separated.
Well, I'm very lucky to play with those musicians. I'm not such a great musician myself. I like writing, I like singing, I like being on stage. I like how you got to have something to say, usually. But yeah, no, I'm very lucky to have those musicians with me, and that they've stuck with me through all these years. Because sometimes, and I've been in France for a while now, but they've become kind of my family in France. You're not French. You live in here. You probably know that sometimes you can get a bit lonesome sometimes, and they've become kind of my family around me since then. Yeah, good people.
Yeah, well, as you can see, Montbron, it's hard to get lonely. We got a good community here, and they were all out here dancing with it, and just, you had the crowd going. I mean, it was great, and some of your songs were really excellent. I loved the words, and even the French ones I was understanding, the politicalness, and then I recognized a couple of folk songs, and I was like, do I recognize that? But like the words were twisted, and it was with that punk thing, but it did work. Your folk infusion to your punk worked, because I heard a few that I recognized almost.
Yeah, that's great. Well, folk and punk often work well together. Like, you think of bands like the Pogues, and those kind of sounds work. I wouldn't say we trying to steer away really from the punk label now, even though I want that kind of energy. For me, punk is more an energy than a style now, really. And we're experimenting with loads of different sounds now. We've started getting a bit. There's loads of things we're experimenting with, but yeah, punk has often worked with folk music. It's basic chords, powerful, wants to get people dancing, is energetic. But yeah, Pretty Polly is an old Appalachian murder ballad based on an ancient British song. But yeah, we turned that around so that it's no longer Polly that gets it in the neck in the middle of the mountains. She gets her revenge after like 200 years.
Okay, cool.
It's that time.
And what about the Greek one? That was good. You would go.
Yeah, that was based on the time when Greece is still like they're in serious trouble, like a lot of European countries. Well, like all of us now, really. But this was back a few years ago when the government of Alexis Tsipras were really being put under the boot of the International Monetary Fund, the Troika, the European banks, and they put it to the vote of the Greek people whether they want to finally pull out of the European Union if they had to as a last measure or not. And the people voted yes, that they should, and the government decided to ignore that vote. And that's when their finance minister, Yanis Varoufakis, decided to leave. So he's one of the only really honest politicians, actually, because when the plan that he promised on didn't work, he left government rather than try and stay clinging to power, which is what like almost all of the others do. So I wrote this song, Varoufakis Blues, in his honor, and also in the honor of everyone who's ever found themselves in debt, because it's tough. Yeah. They came into the garden, occupied the flat, emptied out the kitchen cupboards, they privatized the cat. That's what they're going to do.
Yeah, I love. I mean, the words were great. The lyrics were really excellent, and so you said you weren't good. You're not a great musician, but you were strumming the banjo in the beginning of the night.
Yeah, I like strumming away on the banjo. I can't let myself go as much as I leave that side of things. What is mainly also for the composition. They're very good composers. I'll usually come to a rehearsal with some text, some words, maybe an idea for a melody. But I leave it up to them to do what they want to do with it. Right. So yeah, I mean, it's a very collective process. Are working together, and I've always believed in that. That is.
Yeah, no, and it worked, Luke. I mean, it was great. You really took me back to the days when punk was just coming to America. I was young and I was politically minded, and it was like, wow, holy smokes, mixes everything. You get to dance, you get to be pissed off at the government, and you have a great night.
Well, we really enjoyed this. But that's the idea, it's about the energy, and it's also about having something to say. This is what we see usually when we play, which is great. I'm glad it happens, because that's what the kind of bet was when we set the band up. You see people smiling from ear to ear, from beginning to the end of the evening, really. But you also see them listening. They're paying attention to what you're saying, which is also why I want to write songs in French, because I want the French people to understand what we're saying. But yeah, you do. You see that happening, and that's great. That means we've succeeded in something.
Yeah, totally. It was a successful. It was a successful.
And it gets people together. It gets with these places like the Grangette. As you come here, you live in this area. It's really important that we've got these spaces where people get together, where they can dance, where they can meet up, and all those kind of places are under pressure more and more, all over the place. In the States, in France, in the UK, it's getting more and more difficult to keep places like that alive. They've already closed all the squats down. These places struggle to exist. So we need to all fight to keep them going.
They're trying to shut down any alternative voice, and they can't, because we're all volunteers here, and we just do it because we want to get groups coming and playing, and we want to support that, and that's what it's all about. We have to. The people on the ground, like you said, with that song, with the Greek, with the Greek song that we're talking about, and every other song. If we lose the people, that's it. We lost the plot. And you keeping the people together and keeping them dancing, smiling, and listening, that is so important.
Well, that is what I see as our job, really. I like being on stage. I like people applauding me. I thought, well, how can I use that? You want to try and put it to some kind of purpose. So, it's good. I do feel that as artists, we have something to contribute. In France is really interesting for me, because I think the alternative scene, what would have been the punk scene, like when we were in London setting up squats and stuff, in France that whole alternative scene is out in the country now, because they're the places which are left to be occupied. People come to the country in France to do something interesting now. They're coming back into the villages which were deserted to make bread, to make craft beer, to grow organic vegetables. People are coming to do all kinds of interesting stuff, real stuff that keeps people alive. But they also need culture to keep that going, and that's what our job is. That's where we can contribute to that movement. But there is interesting stuff happening in France. And we need that to be. We know now that planting vegetables is a political act now. If we're going to survive. So we need to support that and keep that going.
And for sure. And tonight, like you said, you hit the nail right on the head. We had all three. I was working the bar, and I was working the bar selling craft beer, locally made. Finette was making the food, and that food is a lot of locally grown veg and it's organic and grown around here. And you filled it in with the music and the political time, and everyone dancing. What a great night, Luke.
It's great, isn't it? And they want to shut us down, but we're the fucking entrepreneurs, man. Like we are the people who are actually entrepreneuring something, making the most interesting stuff happening, the most inventive, the most worthwhile. We should be being supported. But
for sure. I mean, this is it. This is it. And it's not going to happen because the people are going to say, no. I'm sorry. They're pushing themselves way too far now, and people like you are letting us know and reminding us it's not new in history. It's been repeated, but now we have to finally say, no, We're going to grow food. We're going to make our beer, and we're going to live.
Well, it's great that you're around to give us a bit of support. It's really good fun being interviewed. Wow. So hi, everyone who's listening to this. Thanks very much, Joe.
Yeah, cool.
Great.
All right, Luke. Well, Luke, do you have any way we can find your band? You got a website or anything?
Yeah, the band's called Skin and Wire. That's what banjos are made out of, right? Skin and wire. Yeah, you can look us up on. We've got plenty of stuff on YouTube. We're on Bandcamp.com. They're the main place to look for us.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can get in touch with us through Bandcamp, I think, through Facebook, skinandwire@gmail.com. If anyone wants to get in touch.
Okay. Cool. And that's Skin and Wire. One word.
3 words, skin and wire. People keep wanting to put that little and sign in the middle of it. No, the word is and, A-N-D, skin and wire.
I mean, I said 1 word, but I mean 3 words, but in one solid thing, skin and wire.
For the address, yeah, that's very good. You're good at your job, aren't you? Yeah, skin and wire, 1 word, @gmail.com.
Very good. Okay, man, here I am with Luke from Skin and Wire. That was a great night, my man. And look, we got the same haircut. Yeah. Okay, man.
Solidarity, brother.
Solidarity. Joe Diomede coming at you once again. The Grangette, TTRP TV with another great night. And more to come. And Skin and Wire. Follow them and get your own bands out there. Get people dancing.
Thanks for the camera, Sufjan.
All right. Ciao.
Where to hide for the wolves.